All right, folks, welcome back to yet another episode of Fresh Juice, an indie game podcast. I'm your host, Tommy Fresh, and joined as always, it is
Matty Juice. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 85 of the Fresh Juice podcast.
What?
Oh my goodness, 85. How you doing, Tommy?
I am doing, well, kind of. I'm tired. I am tired. It was a fun weekend. It was a long weekend. I had work today, but happy to be back on the mics. I recorded Fresh and Buzz before this. We got a great episode for you all. We were at PAX East. We checked out a lot of games, played most of them, watched some of them more.
Yeah.
Kind of got a gauge on some really cool indie stuff coming out, as well as some bigger name stuff as well. It is going to be interesting to see how some of these games land as they go into early access and 1.0, some of them going forward. But it's going to be fun. Oh, catching up. We were together all weekend. We went to Boston for PAX East. Drove up there with our other cousin, Jake. We had a great time. We witnessed a street wizard on our street. That was kind of cool. He was hanging out there practicing his moves. That was pretty neat. And, geez, what else did we do? We went to PAX East. We're going to talk all about that. But I guess on the day off, we kind of went around and kind of drank our way through parts of Boston. Went to a couple breweries, watched the Knicks Celtics game. And, yeah, really just kind of like, it was like a busy weekend, but also kind of chill at the same time. And, now we're back in the saddle, right? It's back to reality. We got at least, I guess, probably 10 more months till the next PAX.
Yeah. Yeah, at least there's
PAX
that.
East. Yeah, at least there's that. There's something to look forward to. Oh, also you're having a kid. But
Yeah. Yeah, well,
yeah,
I mean, PAX.
PAX, a kid.
Same amount of letters,
Yeah.
It's like the same thing.
Yeah, but it was a good weekend overall. I had a lot of fun. It was kind of an interesting PAX overall, which we'll talk about the games, but like in terms of the actual like convention, it's I don't know if it's shrinking or what's happening, or they're kind of like reevaluating what they kind of put their energy into. Not a bad thing, but it felt like there was a little bit less this year than normal, and there was a little bit more space. Don't mind the more space, to be honest, because some years you just like, shoulder to shoulder with people when you're walking past some stuff. But like there was definitely less like games going on, but this could be just a recession indicator because I was talking before the show. I know some people are getting laid off from the old industry I was in. A lot of things are going on. Lot like less like disposable income, and games are like going to be affected by that. So I wonder if this is kind of an indicator of that. I'm not really sure, but how'd you feel about the weekend?
Yeah, I thought it was just awful. Everything. It was. I think PAX. It definitely was a little bit smaller than it was last year, which I feel like we said a similar thing last year too. And I actually was reading online because I wanted to see kind of what other people were thinking. And some people, they made the same observation. Some of them even said that there were a lot less international developers there than there normally is, and that could be like a reason of things going on, I guess, in the US or whatever. So I'm like, okay, that could be a reason. And then apparently also there wasn't I don't fully remember this exactly, but people were saying there wasn't the indie mega kind of area. So I guess it's a publisher maybe that brings a lot more indie games, which it did seem like there weren't as many indie games maybe as previous years. There was still a good amount, but still had a great time at PAX, checking out some cool games. Definitely less party games than
Yes.
maybe what we're used to, which is maybe is a coordinates with or correlates to the less indie games in general. Um, but still had a good time with the boys and had a good time on Saturday. Got some great cannolis,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Mike's Pastry, shout out Mike, and um, and then also, hit us some breweries, watched a little basketball. We ended up getting like a perfect seating for the game,
Yeah.
which I honestly was expecting us to like wherever we went, there was going to be like a long wait. But no, we got it. We got it. And I felt like the weather held up too a little bit. I mean, it was like a little rainy like the first day, but like
Yeah.
I feel like it kind of wasn't that bad, Saturday and Sunday. Um, but
Yeah. It
yeah,
was like, I mean, it was kind of annoying that like after Friday, the Friday session, it was like really pouring. So it was like
mhm,
we had to get like an Uber, right? I mean,
yeah,
like we could try to hoof it to the train station, but we were gonna get soaked. We
yeah.
all had stuff in our backpacks. That wasn't really an option. So, we went over to the hotel next door. It was like, oh, maybe we'll be able to get into the Irish pub. We knew it would be busy, but it was actually just closed for like a content creator thing. And to be honest, listen, I think we gotta just try to hop on that somehow
Yeah.
going forward, because if the con gets smaller, listen, we get a little bit closer to having some status there. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Until
So
it's just us, and we're
yeah,
getting all the swag. Yeah, actually I did look into that. They have like the creator and like the media badges, and it's like a certain window of time that they're open. So we'll just need to make sure that we're, aware of when that opens. Just apply and see what happens.
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. But yeah, that also was another part too, where I remember going to like that Red Bull like after party kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this time it seemed like because at least it mentioned Red Bull. I don't know if it was the same sort of party. It was definitely wasn't at the same location, but it was only for like the creator and the press badge people. So I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. Like, I don't know. It could be nice to have a little bit more for like the every average Joe. But regardless, it's always just a good time just like walking around, like just looking at stuff. Even if
Yeah.
you're not playing some of the games, like sometimes it's just fun watching them. Um, but yeah, definitely was a little gap there with some of the party games because I'm used to, or we're used to kind of having that experience of like one booth is just like everyone's like cheering,
Yeah.
because like there's like some crazy party game that's going on. That didn't really happen this year. We'll talk about one of the games where I think it could have happened, but they didn't really have like the right setup. But yeah, either way,
Good
good
weekend.
time. I also had a free beer today. I know
What?
I did let you know about this earlier, but for the listeners, I went to a liquor store, picked up 4 beers, and the guy was like, "Oh, is that an IPA?" I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, have you ever had this one?" And he like pulled up like this Heady Topper, which we're familiar with. And I was like, "Oh yeah, Heady Topper." He's like, "Here you go." I was like, "Thanks, man." He just gave it to me for free. So,
Nice.
nothing tastes better than a free beer.
Yeah. Yeah. Free is my favorite price on a beer. But listen, I don't want to make it sound like we're going to doom and gloom PAX because some things were different, but it was still a really good weekend. And we
Yeah,
actually checked out a lot of really cool games. And, I think we should get into that first, probably.
yeah,
Just
do it.
like while it's fresh in our minds, fresh juice. And we have a game list of stuff we like watched, stuff that like had like cool booths, stuff we played. First one up on the list is probably the one that arguably the both of us are the most hyped for coming out. Indie game called Hell Clock, which is a kind of Diablo like roguelike, where it had this kind of cool mechanic where it's timed, right? Like you have timed runs, and there are certain things you could do to get more time. It's not like a straight amount of time that you have each time. That's a lot of times I said the word time, but it was fun. I mean, it was very much like Diablo in terms of the loot and the mechanics, and then you had like the kind of upgrade system of a roguelike, right? You get three choices to upgrade something. It was fun. I'm interested to see how deep it will actually be, but the demo was good and it was very engaging, and I could see it being a lot of fun. I know you were pretty hyped on it because this is really kind of something after your own heart.
Yeah, it was I had a great time playing it. Only did one run, and basically like at PAX, you went through there's like every level is a floor. So once you get seventh floor, that's where the boss is. And I didn't end up beating the boss. They actually got me good during the boss battle. But I did download the demo today, and it says you can play up to floor 14.
Oh wow.
So I'll have to give that a shot. I've only played a little bit of it, and didn't get too far, but yeah, I enjoyed the game. I know it's like a simple game, clearly inspired by Diablo, um, and I also really like the trinket system that they have. So essentially, for the listeners, you kind of just pick up these trinkets that give you like different buffs. So you don't, you have to make those decisions, like Tommy said, of like choosing one of the three items every time you level up. But then you're also kind of like almost like passively upgrading some of your health and your attack damage, because when you kill certain enemies, they'll drop a trinket and you just pick it up and that automatically gets applied to your character. Which I like. It's not like you have to keep making all these micro decisions. It's kind of like very, it feels Diablo-esque because those trinkets are different rarities, and it kind of just makes it feel like there's a lot of loot in the game, which I think is what they're kind of going for. So yeah, I think it's a cool concept. There's also a mode in the demo called Relaxed, where there is no clock at
Oh,
all. So if you really just wanted to play it like Diablo, you could, or just like a Diablo roguelike. But yeah, so pretty cool game for definitely added to the wish list pretty quickly.
nice, nice.
Yeah.
Also, on the other side of things that perhaps isn't indie, but Dune Awakening had a huge booth, giant sandworm that looked awesome.
Yeah.
That was kind of the big picture esque spot at the con for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't get to play it, but you went over there and you were able to, because you have a little bit of a connection with playing Dune Awakening. How was that experience? Like being able to kind of be like, hey, I'm Matty Gorm. I've played
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, no, it was cool because I had talked. For those who don't know, like I was in the preview event for Dune. I was fortunate enough to get like invited to that. Which basically was just allowed me to play the beta under like NDA, and then like could stream it on like one special day or whatever. So that was cool. Allowed me to record some content for it. But I was talking to their PR people like through email, and I saw that they were going to PAX, and they're like, "Oh, we'll add you to our VIP list." Didn't give me any explanation of what that was. So I was just like, okay, like that's cool. Maybe I'll get like a sticker or something. I don't know. Um, and yeah, it was like a 2.5 hour line apparently at Dune. And I just kind of walked over and I met the PR person I talked to was there. And I was like, introduced myself, and they were, oh, there's like, we have like some of these creator like seats here. Like, we have an appointment in like 15 minutes, but you're welcome to go right now and like play. And so I just went and played some Dune that was not actually in the preview. It was like
Oh,
new content. And they had these awesome things that I've never seen before on the actual chairs you sat in. Is made by Razer, and basically, as things were happening in the game, it was like vibrating, and it kind of gave you that like extra experience of like all the
yeah,
not in a
yeah.
weird
No,
way,
no, no.
but like, especially when you're playing a game like Dune, there's a lot of things rumbling, right, and worms afoot. So it was cool. It added a nice little touch to the game. I don't think I'll be buying one myself. I imagine they're a little expensive, but it was fun to play it. And you had a kind of a maxed out character or like a bunch of items, so it was cool being able to like experience like guns that I didn't wasn't able to use um, in the beta. I know they just wrapped up their beta too. They had it the weekend of PAX, and so the game comes out in like a month. I'm excited for that. But yeah, they definitely had like the premiere booth. Maybe like Elden Ring would be second, and we could talk about that in a little bit. But just because of the way their booth looked, yeah, Dune definitely had like the big worm, and there was even someone cosplayed that work for them. It kept taking pictures in front of the worm every time I'd go by. It'd be like the same person, and you could
Uh,
take a picture of them in front of the worm. Um, that I guess the booth hired. But yeah, it definitely had the longest lines, I would say, of any of the games there, which was cool. I'm excited for the game to come out. So yeah, had a good time playing Dune. Hopefully, I did give away some keys as well in my own Discord. So if you are listening, hopefully you enjoyed playing uh, this past weekend, and yeah, maybe I'll get some game keys to give away at some point on the Fresh Juice podcast.
maybe. I mean, we
Ooh,
might as well hit Elden Ring though, because you mentioned it. It had an interesting thing going on. The night Elden Ring Night Rain had like this
yeah,
dome in the middle of the convention center,
yeah,
and there was a lot of mystery about it. And it turns out you had to get there pretty early before the expo hall opened, I guess, and like you had to get tickets to go in for a demonstration. But some two people that we'll mention in a bit let us know that you get a demonstration and then they pick three random people to play the game, which
yeah.
is, I mean, the game comes out in what, a month?
Like, it comes out the 30th, so less than a month,
Yeah.
like a few weeks, 2 weeks. It'll be out basically.
Yeah. It seems crazy
Yeah,
that there wasn't like an actual demo, but like, I mean, like
yeah.
an accessible demo, although people would be lining up like crazy to play it, obviously. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I thought it was weird because obviously at first you're thinking, oh, you get to play the game early because I was considering kind of going over there, maybe like early on Sunday and just like getting in line or whatever it was. I don't really know how it works before the show floor opens, but apparently they let you in for certain things maybe, just to get kind of a ticket in line. But once I saw there was a sign that said show times, I was like, oh, they're just like showing a movie in there. I don't know. It seems like um, one, I'm glad they were there because it helps fill space, right? But two, it's just like it almost feels like it's a waste of space
Mm,
in a way. It's just like a big advertisement essentially for the game because it just
yeah.
looks so different from all the other booths. You know, is what it is kind of thing. I did see though, and I think the people you were just referencing also mentioned that. If you were one of the lucky few to get chosen to play and you beat the boss, you got like I don't know if you got like a key to the game, you got like something, but I know a few things I think, but I know one of the things you got. I saw a guy wearing it's a shirt and on the back it says like I defeated and it's like the name of the boss.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so like if you beat the boss, you got that, which I definitely wouldn't have. So I'm like, okay, there's no point in trying to even play. But yeah, I was excited that Elden Ring was going to be there. I got a lanyard with the Elden Ring Night Rain logo on it, which was cool. But I don't know. I would have liked if it was just a normal booth and I could just like the Dune booth where they just had a bunch of computers. That game comes out in a month too,
Yeah.
and they were letting people play it. So yeah, it would have been cool if it was that. But still cool to see them there and. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Maybe they'll be at the next pack showing the that other game that they're working on just for the Switch 2. I forget the name of it
Oh,
right now,
yeah.
but it's like the Switch 2 exclusive from the same dev. So maybe they'll be at the next one with that and hopefully let me play it. That would be cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be
Yeah.
neat. Um, Now, you also played something called Crimson Desert, which is another kind of Souls like, but you said it was like a lot faster.
Yeah, so I remember seeing the trailer for Crimson Desert. It had a lot of people hyped because it just kind of came out of nowhere. And like the trailer for it, if you guys watch it, I think it's from like the Summer Game Fest. It's a game that looks like it has like everything in it, like all these different mechanics. You're like flying around. It's got these big boss battles. Like I think you're even like fishing at some point. It's just got like everything in it. Um, and it seemed kind of Souls likey, but yes, it was a lot faster. I did get a chance to play it, waited in line for maybe like an hour. They took you into a little room that actually was great. I think every big game there should do this, where it just puts you through like a 10-minute explanation of what's in this demo you're about to play, what the controls are. And then also based on the boss you pick was how long your demo was going to be, which I thought was interesting. So I had to get to like a meeting, so I chose like the quickest one.
Mm.
Um, but I thought that was cool because it kind of like I don't know gives a little variance of like every time maybe if you get in that line again, you play a different boss, so gave you a reason to kind of keep coming back. But as far as the gameplay, think like kind of Elden Ring or like a Souls game, but the boss doesn't give you any room to breathe. And there's some other like mechanics in it. It's not exactly a Souls like. Um, there's a whole like weapon wheel that you can like switch between. And also I don't know if I had like unlimited heals. I don't know if that was just a demo thing, but I never ran out. But yeah, Crimson Desert, it's definitely on my list. I did talk to them a little bit and potentially might get like, do some content on that game at some point. But yeah, it was definitely a really fun game to watch, but a very difficult game to master.
Mm.
So, at least from my experience with that one boss that I fought, really just like really tough. It's gonna be a tough game, but I feel like it's still that kind of helps it get into more of like the Souls like fan base because it is a difficult game. So I feel like it's gonna latch on to the Souls like people. But yeah, cool game, cool name too. I mean, two desert games at PAX,
It's the year of the
wow.
desert, folks. It is the year of the desert. Um, Next game that we like were going to play, but like they had closed the line was Soulmates.
Yeah.
This was the kind of Overcooked like game, if I'm remembering correctly, except it's on a space station and you're running around. It's a co-op game where you are just basically trying to make sure the spaceship works, right?
Yeah.
They did say that it's not as stressful as Overcooked because that game can get a little overwhelming, but has the same kind of vibe. One of the devs had talked to us while we were just watching, and really gave it a great pitch. It seemed like we can't really speak to how good the game is, but like they really did seem to be really passionate about it. So it was probably just worth mentioning if anybody wants to check their Steam page out. They seemed pretty awesome. Anything to add on Soulmates?
Yeah, obviously it would have been cool to play it. But I actually think this one appeals to me more than a game like Overcooked. I do like playing Overcooked. I played a little bit at PAX with our cousin Jake, who had never played it before, so we sat down and tried it out. I think he liked it, but I feel like this is almost more like you're kind of working together more than like I feel like Overcooked. It's like the blame game of
Hmm.
just like you're supposed to like handling the tortillas, or like
Yeah.
whatever. This is more just like like we're getting attacked, like everybody, all hands on deck kind of thing. So yeah, I think it's a cool idea, and I'll definitely keep my eye on it. It seems like it could be a fun party game. So yeah, but I did not play this next game that we're about Monster Train 2. You want to tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, Devolver. I don't know if it was part of. I guess it is Devolver, but it was part of the big Devolver booth. Monster Train 2, which is a deck builder roguelike. Monster Train 1 is considered probably one of the better ones, right? Top 5. That I played a little bit in the past. It has a pretty unique mechanics in terms of it's auto battler like, but with heavy deck building elements. You're on this train and these monsters come on. You got to play your monsters, and they kind of auto battle before they get to the top of your train, and like will deal damage to your engine or whatever. And to be honest, like this feels like they just did a lot of updates to the original one. It doesn't feel very new, but it feels very clean, very like just updated, like
Hmm.
a facelifted Monster Train 1 with more content, which is like I guess what a sequel tends to be anyway. But like
Yeah.
I wasn't like, oh, there's a lot of new stuff going on here. It was fun. It's not my favorite kind of deck builder. I think the art style on this is a little bit too busy for me, but very cool game. I think people are going to be pretty hyped about it anyway if they're fans of the first one, where the first one probably had too limited of or a strictly limited amount of content, where this is going to be a little bit more expansive, which is probably just what everybody wanted anyway. But it was a good time to play, and yeah, that comes out I think next or maybe in a couple weeks. So keep an eye out for that. That one's going to be big for the deck builder roguelike fans out there. I also played a game called Gug, which is like, so I actually did some research on this game after, because I was like, it was pretty interesting, but like, some of the stuff that like you experienced in the demo was a little weird, right? The art style was like, pretty stark, and it's kind of like they didn't really have like a actual booth, really. They just had cutouts of these monsters, Gugmans, but
they're like cheesy looking, right?
They're cheesy looking.
Yeah.
So I
like cheese, not like not like cheesy, but like made of cheese.
So basically, it's a game where it's using a lot of generative AI. So like it's a little weird. You just type in a name and it generates a Gug for you, and it has random stats. and
sorry.
And sorry. I'm just remembering how weird these Gugs looked, and like they were strange. So it's using a lot of generative AI. I'm not sure how much of it is in the art. Like, it makes sense for the one mechanic. So like, it is a neat use of it where you just type in whatever name you want to name it, and for whatever reason, it will just generate. I don't know if it's random or has anything to do with the name, but it'll generate a unique Gug, where the Gug has like unique stats and a unique ability that like is probably within a set of abilities. But it was like an auto battler, which was like fun, like but there was something a little sus about it. I'm not really sure, like even like the people I talked to there, but you did get a free trading card for playing it, and that was kind of neat. You didn't get to play it, but you definitely we were making Gug jokes all weekend, so and we're still making them right now, so there you go.
Yeah, it's definitely didn't even really watch too much gameplay, but I know kind of like what it looks like. And actually the Gugs, I follow an artist on Twitter that draws in this and illustrates in this same exact art style. So, and they're very against AI, which is fair. So kind of curious, I feel like this game is, it's fighting an uphill battle basically because of that. Even though it is a cool implementation of it, I still feel like at the end of the day, someone's going to be like, well, you could have paid artists, right, to do all that. So I don't know. I feel like it's it's a pretty brave game to bring to PAX, I'd say, because there were also some booths there that were focused on non-AI art, and they spelled it out. Actually, they were like, none of our art is AI generated, so interesting. It definitely has like a target market, but again, I think it's got an uphill battle.
I mean, like, the content disclosure is that the game relies on AI to underpin its procedural image and functionality generation systems. So the systems that allow for personalized creatures and their effects. So like, I understand what they're going for here. It's a little interesting. The fact that like they only had pictures of these Gugs posted around their booth, it's kind of the red flag here, where they weren't advertising anything other than these things that look like this. So it was very strange. But other than that, we did play a pretty fun game called Ultimate Sheep Raccoon, which I think you said was basically a sequel to Ultimate Chicken Jockey or something like that.
Ultimate Chicken Horse.
Horse.
Which is actually a game that I ended up refunding.
Oh.
just because I don't know, it just wasn't for me really. But I know some of the guys in the group like it. For those who don't know, Ultimate Chicken Horse is essentially like a party game where you're trying to get to the finish line, and every player is allowed to like place hazards down, so that they can stop the other players from getting to the finish line first. This game, same exact concept. Different characters, different items you can place down. Obviously, it's got a sheep and a raccoon in it too, which I don't know if Ultimate Chicken Horse did. Uh, Maybe a little. I felt like it was a little bit more user friendly,
Hmm.
just like maybe almost like built for console versus like I always felt like Ultimate Chicken Horse was a little bit more built for PC. So maybe they're just trying to target that market, and they figured, if this is the same studio, I think it is. I would
Think
imagine
so.
if
Yeah.
the name is so similar, that's maybe what they're trying to go for. But yeah, it was fun though. I just I don't know, these like that's those style games like don't really make me want to like have that be a regular game in the rotation of party games. Just because I feel like it's like built on like making people frustrated,
Yeah.
kind of right. And I'm just like, I don't know. I'd rather, and some of it's like luck based too, where I'm just like sometimes like during the runs, I'm like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do like
Hmm.
here? Like there's nothing I can do at this point. You just got to hope I survive and just so I can roll it past the finish line. So, yeah, but was it a game that you think you'd pick up?
So I really like the concept, right? In practice, I don't know if I loved it. Like some of like the actual controls and like the timing and like the opportunity windows on playing were like a little rough. But like this kind of racing game where you create the obstacles is interesting. I think it is. It can be really good. I don't know if this was the best version of it because that's what essentially you're doing it like Mario Kart. You're throwing out obstacles for your opponents too. But like I feel like this is cool, but I don't know if it's necessarily going to stick the landing. I'll be willing to like check it out, maybe like actually get a play session with some like friends and see how it actually goes. We played one round. We were just learning it, and we were playing with a fourth person that we didn't really know, so like we couldn't really talk too much smack or anything like that. So it's hard to
Yeah,
really give it its fair shake when it's like that. So, but it was cool. I love the art style. That's what really drew me in. This kind of
yeah,
Cartoon Network, Adult Swimmy kind of thing going on. That was neat. Um, Swap Meet, we didn't play, but they gave us some promotional material for it, and it looked cool. I don't even really know what it was. I mean, I think um, some kind of third person shooter, but there was a decent amount of hype around that because there was always a line there. So that might just be something we just check out because it was there.
yeah. Swap Meet's actually a game like I've been following for a little bit on TikTok actually, and I think it's a cool concept. Would have liked to had a chance to play it, but the line was like pretty long anytime I was like over there, and long for an indie game, I should say. And also, side note, we've talked about this. Some indie games, or just even some developers there in general, need a better understanding of how long their demos should be
Mm.
and how many people are playing at once. Because sometimes it was like 15-minute demos and two people will go at once. So it's just like that line's going to move pretty slow, But anyway, I don't think that was an issue for Swap Meet, but yeah, it's an interesting game and it's a roguelite and they call it a meet 'em up. So, I guess like a beat 'em up. It did look like there was like some shooting involved as well. You can play solo or co-op. And the thing that kind of attracted me to the game and why I've been following it for just a little bit before PAX was the main mechanic in the game is you harvest like mutant body parts and you like wield their powers. So essentially, like you kind of like build your character with these body parts that you find, and that each of those body parts kind of has a different power. Kind of a cool idea, you know. Could make each run pretty interesting based on maybe like the order of enemies that you come across with each run. And yeah, seems like an interesting game. So probably yeah, something we'll cover on the show. But Swap Me, keep your eye out for that one. It's like a well-made game, but didn't get the hands on, so
Yeah.
don't know for sure.
Don't know for sure. The next one is, I think the last caretaker. Is this the one that you were brought into a room in a hotel to play?
Yes, so there's a little backstory with this one. I was fortunate enough to get invited to check out this game called The Last Caretaker at PAX, which is I'll actually be doing some videos on it. I have footage recorded of me playing it. They were kind enough to provide like a USB of my footage, and it's essentially a single player survival game where you are this robot caretaker and you wake up like after 100 years of like being like out of commission or frozen, whatever it is. And the earth is now an ocean, and there's kind of just like these seaports you go to, or like these kind of rigs that you go to. So you have to fix your boat. It's kind of this like um uh this kind of like fisherman's, like old fisherman sort of boat. So it's kind of got that cool vibe to it, and like the ocean is the game looks fantastic, built with Unreal Engine 5. And yeah, so I was fortunate enough to get invited to go play this, and kind of like the little bit of a backstory before I played it is that it was at a hotel right across the street from PAX, and I didn't know it was like only like a 2-minute walk away. So I kind of prepared for it to be like a 15-minute walk. So I go into the hotel, and all I know is that it's like sweet. It's like a suite number. It's like 22,000 something is the suite number. And I'm like, I don't know how to get to that. I don't even know. Is that on the 22nd floor, or is that on like the second floor? I have no idea. So uh, I like asked the person in the lobby. I was like, "Oh, like do you know where this suite is?" And she's like, "Can I?" She needed my ID, and then she had to call the room and be like, "Is it okay if I come up?" And they were like, "Yes, like it's fine or whatever." She had to give me like a room key and tell me where to go, and then like I get up there and I knock on the door, and there were two guys I met. They were awesome, Auntie and Jack. And Auntie is like the main kind of developer, like it's his baby, and Jack is the community manager. But Auntie answers the door, and I don't know who he is at the time. I'm just like, oh hey, like I'm Matt, and he just like takes this orange scarf that he's wearing and he just puts it over my head, and I was just like, oh okay. And as I'm going up to that room, I'm also thinking like, am I gonna be sex trafficked? Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm going up to some hotel room that I've never been to. But no, they were great. Game is really cool. It's still a work in progress, but they were awesome. And honestly, it was like one of the highlights of me, like a gaming session that I've had at PAX ever. Because I was like, I really felt like I almost didn't belong there. The content creator that was in there before me, since I showed up a little early, he had his own cameraman and stuff, and they had like a laptop set up with like a microphone and a webcam, and I was like, oh my god, like am I supposed to record something in here? Like I let them know. I was like, this is the first time I'm doing this, but they were awesome. They did a little presentation on the game and really made me feel like I was like, wow, like I'm doing something serious with like content creation, which is really cool. Like I don't know, it just made me feel pretty cool. They gave me some cool swag as well, and yeah, it's a cool game. So I'll definitely do some coverage on it. So if you're interested, The Last Caretaker is the name of the game again. Feel free to look it up if you're into survival games, especially single player ones. I think it's going to be another like great one. So check it out. Check it out. Yeah, pretty cool experience though overall, and I'm glad I made it out alive.
Yeah, yeah. Jake and I were just like, well, wonder what's happening to him right now. And you came back, and that was awesome. It does sound like a really cool experience, and hopefully more of that to come for you, especially with these survival games. And, people love them, and people don't understand them. That is for sure when I'm on TikTok. I saw one TikTok about Dune, and they're like, pretty cool, but oh, why is this game like this? And then I was like, no, people were like, it's different than normal, not different than normal games, but different than games where the general public typically play, and that's the biggest thing. But um, you also played Mordfield Command, a game that we were invited to play. I just let you play because I was like, you know what? This seems like a fun experience for Matt because it wasn't a game you would normally play, but it seemed pretty cool though, right? Like they had a whole story about it. It was a turn based kind of tactical like game, not real time strategy, but a strategy game. So,
Yeah.
what were your thoughts there?
Yeah, it was so like the story of this like this RTS essentially is that the robots have like taken over the world, and I'm kind of summarizing this because there was like a good amount of backstory, which is really cool. But the robots have essentially taken over the world to the point where like humans don't really come out that much. Like they're just trying to survive, but they are coming out, and they're trying to get supplies, and you essentially need to fight off these robots. You can build different machines that help you generate different materials and different items to use, which is cool. And honestly, I just played through the tutorial, and the tutorial did such a great job of like one, obviously teaching you how to play, but also making it feel like you were like playing the game. It wasn't just like, they said it was like very much on rails, the tutorial. But for me, I don't know. Like I was also using it as an excuse to kind of just like, I'm going to move my guys over here and just like check out what's over here. Like I don't need to go directly to the next marker. Right. So yeah, it's a interesting RTS again called Mordfield Command. So if you're interested in like games like Civ, I know the developer I talked to, Josh, he said there's like some Civ influence in there. Unfortunately, like those, aren't really like big genres that I play. And I let him know that too. And I also said like, also like I was able to beat the tutorial, which, I died a few times like playing it. So I was just like, I was happy to like finish something in the game. And I started also to kind of get the hang of it towards the end. I'm like, okay, like this is almost like I kind of kept thinking like this is almost like a survival game where
Mm-hmm.
like you build a facility, allows you to craft these sort of things, right? The only difference is, it's kind of an overhead map, obviously, and you're controlling, you know, your units on this a grid system versus like being able to go wherever you kind of want to. But yeah, so I sort of started thinking of it like that, and it started to make more and more sense. I honestly think the biggest struggle I had with the game is just there's a lot on the screen, and for someone who doesn't play those sort of games all the time, I had to like really like take a minute to like be like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, when I click on this, like these things are highlighted over here. Does that mean I can use them? Oh, I can use those things. Those icons I can click on. They're not just telling me something, that like, I'm out of ammo or something like that. So just like figuring that sort of stuff out was maybe something they could add to the tutorial. It wasn't like in there a lot. It was more about like the gameplay mechanics versus like what you're seeing on the screen in your HUD. But yeah, cool game for sure. And started as a solo project, and then he brought in a few other devs to help out with it. And I think it's close to releasing. So if you're into those style games, I honestly think it's probably going to be one you really like as well. It was really well made, and it seemed like there were other people at the PCs there as well. And pretty much every time I walked by, there were like people that were like really glued to it. The guy next to me was asking like so many questions that were like he clearly plays a lot of RTS games,
Yeah.
and like he seemed pretty satisfied with all the answers from the developer. He was like, "Oh, that's really cool! Like, what a neat idea!" Like things like that. So I'm hoping it does well. But yeah, fortunate enough to check that game out, and we got invited to play that, which was cool. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it looked
yeah.
cool. One of those games that we'll have to keep an eye on and maybe cover down the road. But just it was really cool to be a part of, and very very neat to kind of get to experience that. Now, some party games that we played. I think the two big ones that we played were Royalty Free for All.
Yeah.
which was a brawler with royalty free characters. That was fun. I was like,
Oh, is that the idea?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh my god, I was like, "Oh, it's just called royalty." I didn't realize a royalty free for all.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. You play as
That's
like
cool. Mother
Nessie.
Goose.
You
Yeah.
play Oliver Twist.
Yeah.
Nothing's gonna beat Smash Bros. I mean, that's just the reality of it. But this was really neat. It was fun. To be honest, like I locked in so much because I was doing well. I was playing as Oliver Twist, and I ended up winning. But I locked in so much that I didn't close my eyes, and my eyes got so red and watery after. I was like trying to like shake the guy's hand, like this was a really fun game, and that was cool. It was a neat little game. I think it might be free whenever it comes out too. I think they may have mentioned that. I don't want to speak out of turn, but that was fun. I mean, it's an animated style, like an illustrated style, I should say.
Mhm.
So like hitboxes were a little bit tough to see, but if you just like playing some random brawlers, I think it was a nice, fun little time.
Yeah, this honestly, when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, this is like Cuphead made Super Smash." So yeah, it's a definitely a cool idea. Art style is great, but like you said, nothing's really gonna surpass Smash, which I don't think every brawler like that's trying to, but like that's what it's always going to be compared to Smash because that's like the gold standard. So, yeah, but I think there's like maybe not as much depth as in like Smash. With I don't know, this seemed a little bit more simple, but definitely a cool looking game for sure. And I'd be curious. I'm just kind of curious, like in more characters being added.
Yeah.
Like I guess Winnie the Pooh could be added, right?
Yeah, no, I think
Now,
I think
right?
so. And Sherlock
Yeah,
Holmes and Watson, they can be
yeah, like
added.
the original Mickey Mouse, right?
Yeah,
I think.
Tugboat Willie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Tugboat Willie. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, it could be cool, but you know, we played a game. I don't. It was last PAX Framemakers,
hmm
which was like the indie game Smash. Haven't really heard much about it, right? Like I feel like these kind of Smash like games end up, not really sticking
It's
unless you're like Brawlhalla, where which wasn't at PAX this year,
hmm
um, but and usually is. But that one I know has like kind of a cult following as well.
yeah, yeah. Looking at Frame Makers, it did come out in January
Yeah.
and in early access. Mostly positive reviews, so check that one out too. And then we got another party game, Batsu. This one was actually like a lot of fun. This was at the Devolver booth. It had one of the bigger displays. It was like it's like Fall Guys, but like also like a sumo wrestling game, party game with also some soccer like elements or Rocket League like elements as well. Just like this kind of boxy art style that's popular with the children these days, which is also popular with me. And it was fun. It was like a fun, chaotic, insane party game. If you're out there and you're like, I want to play a party game where I got to be skilled, this is not really the game for you. But it will be a lot of fun. If you're getting a bunch of friends together and maybe you're having a few drinks or something like that, and you want to get like a little crazy, I think Batsu was actually a good time. It was like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. Had a good time with Batsu. To me, it reminded me also of like definitely like the Fall Guys influence, and then there's another game called Gang Beasts, and also Party Animals, which I think is the same developer, but essentially it's kind of these like weird physics kind of like beat 'em up sort of like last man standing kind of games. And yeah, so that one was it was cool, and this was the one that I kind of referenced earlier, where I think that their booth could have been better because they had a pretty sizable booth, which is awesome. Caught our attention, but they had this like big like four big TVs that were kind of all connected together up top to make one like giant TV, and they just kind of had like a rolling
Mm.
marketing like reel on there. I think it could have been cool if maybe in between play sessions that played, but then during the play sessions, let's see someone's perspective up there, or maybe switch between some of them, because that's how you get the groups together that are like, oh, and this is definitely one of those games where, like, I mean, we were watching people holding on to these, like,
Yeah.
swinging, like foam, I don't know,
Like the wipeout
yeah, like
thing.
yeah, like in like American Ninja Warrior kind of stuff. Like they're just holding on to it, and that was their strategy, and they kept winning. They actually came back and won, and like us three were the only ones that were like, oh, just because we were
Yeah.
watching one guy's screen. I'm like, oh, imagine that was up there. So I think those little small decisions can make a big difference, especially like for your game too. It doesn't always work out. I mean, we've seen games like Kung Fu Kickball have that experience, and
Yeah.
obviously not
Spider
bring it
Hack
all the way
2 also
home.
had that experience in a
Spider
similar
Heck,
booth, kind of.
yeah, yeah, but it definitely doesn't hurt to like do something like that. I'd say I don't think that's like taking away from the game, but yeah. But Batsu, cool game for sure. Has also a free demo on Steam with multiplayer.
Only for a couple more days. I think it was just for the week. So hop on
So
it
for
if
a
you want
couple more
to.
days,
Yeah,
do
yeah.
it, download it, and yeah, maybe play with your friends or something like that. But also, I did see. So I put in this game list. There's something called Loot Lock.
Yeah, I
All
didn't know what
right,
it was.
which is not a game, but I just threw it in there because it was something I actually talked to. It was one of the other booths at PAX, and essentially what it is, and it's something I might end up using in the like future, but they're a startup, and basically it's like parental controls. It's kind of like this app that's on your computer, I guess, too. A browser app um, that allows you to have parental controls for like your kids with like video game spending.
Mm.
So you can, and they gamified it. So you can be like, all right, everyone's heard of issues of like kids spending like 100,000 V-bucks, right? Or like the Roblox bucks or whatever, Robux, whatever they're called. Um, so this way you can like give your kid like an allowance of them. And when they're responsible enough for a certain amount of time, you can like have them level up and they get a little bit more allowance. So it kind of allows them to like be a little bit more financially like responsible, and like their goal is to teach kids like financial literacy, which I think is great because like I didn't have any of that growing up. Like, some of that stuff just hit me like a brick. I'm just like, I don't even know, like, what is escrow, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? I don't like, why can't I just pay it every month? Well, you do, but you got to pay it, just like, oh my god. So I don't know, I thought it was a cool idea. Obviously I'm having a kid in a few months, but she's not going to be like, eligible for something like this for a
For a
good
while.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, like, in my head, I'm like, you're a startup, I hope you stay around for when I actually can use you. But they also gave out free like wallets, which is cool. So which is
Oh,
what got me
nice.
to go there in the first place, like those like sticky wallets that go on the back of your phone. So um, yeah. Anyway, not a game, but I threw it in the list because I just thought it was cool. So if there's anyone out there with kids and you have that problem, maybe look into Loot Lock and see if it could help out.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know what it was. I was surprised it's all on the list. But no, it sounds cool. Sounds cool. There's more and more stuff like that coming out these days, even with just like locking phones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which I see, kind of ads for all the time. A couple more video games before just a couple tabletop stuff we'd like to shout out. Motion Wreck was awesome. We both played that. This is a game we'll likely review, actually, but
Yeah.
keep your eyes on it. It's like a platformer puzzler. It's really nice basic art style, but like really intriguing, really cool mechanic um, for it. But don't want to spoil that one too much because I do want to actually definitely review that one. Do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, yeah, I think I really saw the potential in the game as
Mm-hmm.
I was playing it, and wanted to actually kind of keep playing it. So maybe we'll download a demo and see if
Yeah.
they have one and play a little bit more. But cool concept for a game for sure. But yeah, we'll save our actual thoughts when we can actually play the full game and see if it holds up as you continue playing. But um, The other game on the list here is Goblin Town, which we did not get the chance to play because they also had a long line. They had a really cool looking booth as well,
Yes.
with kind of these like neon like signs, almost like reminded me of like 90s Nickelodeon, kind of like maybe like I don't know,
It's like a
Rocco's Modern Life or
maybe
no
like a
Angry
cat
Beavers,
dog, angry
all real
beaver.
monsters kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, like so, maybe Courage the Cowardly Dog kind of like art style, and it looked like it was a kind of like a Mario Kart like, but also kind of mixed with like games like Sisyphus or what's the one where you're like in a pot and you're over the what is that game called?
I don't know.
You're like in a like a cauldron and you're like trying to hop up to the
Oh,
top
yeah, yeah.
over a
Over the
hedge.
hill or
No,
something like that.
I don't know. Some those kind of games. There's like a bunch of them out now. Um so it kind of seemed like an inch. I think it was multiplayer. Like you were playing against people, but if you
Yeah.
I think, but if you fell, you basically wouldn't get like picked up by like Lakitu or whatever. You
You just
fall all the
start
way to the
over.
bottom. Yeah, so you have to start from the bottom. So kind of a cool idea for a game if it actually is multiplayer. Yeah, I'm gonna look that up real
Yeah,
quick.
Goblin Town, really hard driving game, and that's what it looked like. I mean, it's in early access now. It's on sale for less than $10, but it's single player. But I guess they were just doing
Okay.
timed runs alongside. It did suffer from having too long of a demo,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But really cool booth, seemed like a really cool game. So check that one out. You know, just like you'd have to wait like over an hour to play the game just because of how long the demo was. But that's hindsight, right? 2020. But some tabletop stuff. I got to play the Dead Cells board game, which was really fun. Felt like you were just playing Dead Cells. Like honestly, it was actually really impressive. It's kind of a living board game, so like you can kind of do campaign mode. So like every time you play, you continue your progress. That makes more sense for the unlocks in the game as well. A lot of upkeep, but they were pitching the Kickstarter version, which had like easier ways to do the upkeep. But it was a lot of fun to play with two guys, blanking on their names. We'll call them Johnny and Slappy. They were really cool. We saw them at the Motion Rec booth as well.
Shout out Johnny and Slappy.
Yep. And you guys got to play Dice Throne, which they had a huge thing going on. I mean, Dice Throne's been cooking since like 2020. How'd you enjoy it?
Yeah, we Jake and I really liked it. It's honestly I didn't know how I was gonna like it at first because the first thing the guy said was, "You guys know Yahtzee, right?" And I was like Jake was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "I mean, I know the name. I don't know if I know exactly how to play Yahtzee." But I was like, "I guess we'll see what happens here." And yeah, so essentially, like I have a character board. Jake has a character board. There's like attacks on that character board and like different effects and things like that you can do based on these like five dice that you roll. And the dice have different icons that associate with kind of what you need for each move. So you might need like three bow and arrow. Like my character was like a moon elf, I think. So I had like on my dice was like feet, and there were like a bow and arrow, and there was like I don't know, a few other things. I think a moon was on there as well. So certain attacks would need 3 moon and 2 feet or whatever. So but yeah, it was cool, and it's also you have a hand, so it's got a deck to it as well. So that's how you're kind of upgrading your abilities. Like I upgraded some of my attacks, which is really cool, and you can also like skip upgrades. So you can go from the level 1 attack to the level 3 attack, which is really cool. But if you go from the level 1 attack to level 2 to level 3, from 2 to 3 is just the difference between 2 and 3. It's not the full cost that it would be from 1 to 3. So I don't know, like cool ideas like that kind of make you think a little bit. And honestly, the first game, like Jake had beat me, and the second game, I just destroyed it. I just got so lucky
Yeah.
with it, with my rolls. But it just made for like a fun experience. So we actually both of us were interested in getting the game. But it was like they said it was like dollars for like the base pack or something like
To
that.
get all
And
of them, yeah, yeah. Like
yeah,
some
yeah,
people will just buy one thing for like $20, and then that's just like.
yeah,
But you got to find somebody else who wants to play. So it's like
right,
usually you want at least two. I have the box. I bought it during COVID. I was like, this sounds really cool, but you
yeah,
know, but yeah, no, it's pretty cool. And on the topic of Dice Throne, I want to shout out Powerwell, which was a kind of a similar game. It's like all family. They're like indie devs, and it's one guy, and he had all of his family kind of helping him out at the booth. And unfortunately, so it is like Dice Throne. It's like a deck battler, except instead of Yahtzee, it's like Bejeweled. So there's these giant marbles that would come down of different colors, and you have to match three and stuff like that to play your effects. But it's the tariffs are really screwing them. So they pivoted and started also making a just straight card game version of it, and I got to play that. With them, it was very cool. They comboed me out. It was actually pretty crazy. They're like, "Oh, we're so sorry." I'm like, "No, that was sick." So they were really nice. Want to shout out them if that sounds pretty interesting to you. I think they're launching the card game soon, so like I would check that out if really help them out. Like these tariffs are really screwing a lot of people in
yeah,
the tabletop space. So worth shouting them out. But
yeah. Also, I do want to shout out Flesh and Blood.
oh
Had an awesome booth,
yeah, their
right?
booth's
You know a little
awesome.
bit about what they had set up there because you know a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so actually shout out a couple buds that I know from my local game store were actually teaching at it was like a learn to play booth, so they had a bunch of spots where you can just learn to play with these base decks and like a lot of these like nice incentives for you to get to learn to play decks for extra promos and stuff like that. It's honestly just such a great way to introduce people to the game, and uh, I saw some people playing it at the free play area. I gave them my content stuff. I'm like, hey, check out my podcast. People seem to be loving it. I like it's just such a cool Flesh and Blood has such great art and like great marketing assets that like they finally like in the past year have started doing these giant booths at these conventions and have convention exclusive like promos and stuff like that. So really cool. Shout out Flesh and Blood, still doing some great stuff as
Yeah.
always. But yeah, no, that was sick, and they try to do it at like almost everything they like kind of show up to. So that was really neat, and that was everything that we kind of really checked out. It's actually a lot looking back.
Yeah.
It was a good time, and yeah.
There's probably some more in there too that we're just not remembering that maybe we watched a little bit of or
hmm
whatever it is. Um,
You know
yeah,
what?
definitely some good ones in there.
Big. Well, also the Myco Punk looked pretty cool, but that
Yeah.
always had a long line because I think there's a lot of hype around that. We might play that game at some point, so we'll see. The one big booth I realized that wasn't there that normally is Tiny Build. Usually has a giant booth,
Yeah.
so that was kind of interesting because I know they're still cooking. So,
Yeah. No, for
um,
sure.
but
Yeah.
anyway,
So what was your game of the PAX? Game of PAX?
this is kind of tough. Um, Jeez, there's no game that I'm like this is gonna be something that's like in my like heavy rotation going forward.
Hmm.
I don't think Batsu was like a lot of fun. I thought because I played that one multiple times. I played it by myself, and then I came back and played with you guys. Um, Hell Clock was really neat. Really enjoyed that. That's probably gonna be like something fun to play. Motion Wreck. I gotta say, actually, Motion Wreck's gotta be my game of the PAX
Yeah.
because I'm really excited for that game. It looks like it could be a contender for like an indie darling, which is always really exciting. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, if I just don't count like Dune Awakening, because that's already a game I know I'm going to be playing. Hellclock's on that list for sure. Had a really great time playing that game and excited to play some more. Um, I also Motion Wreck, fantastic. And excuse me. I did, I know I got invited to play The Last Caretaker, but I really did like what I played of it. I didn't play a ton, but it gave me like Subnautica kind of vibes, which is always great. Like I love Subnautica. Can't wait for the second one to come out so I can play some multiplayer with it. But um, yeah, so I really think it's hard for me to choose um, between like Hell Clock, Motion Wreck, and Last Caretaker. So I'm gonna just call it a tie right there. But we also, I will say, this wasn't a game that was at PAX, but we learned about it at PAX. Sunderfolk,
Oh yeah.
um, which is apparently a kind of like a D&D like sort of game, where only one person needs to purchase it and the other people that play on their phones with a free app, which is really cool concept. We learned about that, and we'll talk a little bit about that experience in a little bit, if we want to. And also, but we did play a little bit of, like, I guess, a game that has a similar flavor to that, For the King, which I had fun playing. I thought it was like a cool idea for a game, very D&D inspired. And I know there's a second one, and I've had some friends that like For the King, so I had a fun time playing it. I actually would like to like look into the second one, or like Sunderfolk. It would be really cool to like have your own character and be
Mm,
like, guys, like tonight, let's play. And like, like you level up when you play. You're not leveling up when like they're playing without you or whatever. But you always kind of have that same character, like a D&D character.
exactly.
Like exactly like that. But I like D&D, but like, I like it if it's a video game probably more, I guess. I don't know. That's just me. But yeah, I had fun playing that. They weren't games that were at PAX, but we played on our trip.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those did look cool. We had some news, but maybe we'll get to the news next week.
Yeah.
We'll just make this an all PAX episode. But shout out to Matt, who works for a motion capture company that we met at Trillium, who actually told us about Sunderfolk. Really cool dude. If you're listening to the pod, we really liked hanging out with you at the bar. He wasn't there for PAX. He just happened to be in Boston for like the same weekend, because I saw the Twitch hat and I'm like, "You here for PAX?" He's like, "No, but I just found out that PAX was this weekend." He was there for business, but really cool dude. Told us about some games. We knew he was our people's. He's because I was like, "Hey, do you like indie games?" He's like, "Yeah." And I gave him the card, and he's like, "Okay." And we knew he was in, like, or we knew that he was our people when he was like,
Yeah.
"I gotta give you a hot take." We're like, "Okay." He's like, "Balatro got robbed at the Game of the Year awards." We're like, "Yeah." So,
Yeah.
shout out to Matt, cool dude. Hope you're listening. Hope you're well. But next week we're gonna cover a free to play game called Rogue Worlds, and we do have some listener questions. We have 2 PAX questions out the gate, not the gaste. But the first one comes from Bags, who says, "You guys have been to a lot of PAX East shows. Which year is your favorite?"
I mean, I think it's hard to beat like the first year you go, because you have no idea what to expect, and it's just like it feels like, oh my god, there's like so much to do. So I had a great time like the first year. It's hard for me to like choose like a favorite year. I mean, there was the year that you and Dan won the Kung Fu Kickball tournament. That was a great time. That was a great year. You guys got those masks, and that was just a cool overall experience. That might be like one of the favorites, but honestly, sometimes they also like blend together a little bit. I'm just like, what year was that? Was that after
Yeah.
this one? Just because we've been to a good amount of them at this point. Honestly, this year I was really looking forward to like the weather to be real nice, because it's like in May, but
Yeah.
ended up like being like half rain essentially.
And still
Um,
cold.
yeah, and still like kind of chilly. So that was you know yeah, that was a bummer. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to choose like an exact favorite, because there's like highlights from each year, I feel like. But what about
um,
you, Tom? Do you have a one that sticks out?
so I think back on the Kung Fu Kickball tournament. You
Yeah.
know, the first time we experienced that game, it was so fun. It was so hype. That one, like that, felt like really captured the experience. of PAX in a great way. So I think about like I think about 3 party games, right? Or like competitive multiplayer or something like that. That I think about when I think about great indie games at PAX that were like awesome times. Um, the Kung Fu Kickball year, and some of these might be the same year. I don't really remember. I know one for
Right.
sure was
Yeah.
not. The first year that I played Bomb Slaughters, we got the shirts.
Yeah.
Bomb Slaughters was sick. We played a little bit of that at the Airbnb this year. And Plunder Panic was
Hmm.
such a fun time as well. And Spider Hack too as well, but that was like on a bigger scale. But like those 3 kind of gems were really kind of great experiences. So
Yeah. Honestly, the more party games, the better the packs.
yeah.
Just because then you can just hop from one to one,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh, and
yeah, then
Astro Duel 2. I mean, we can't
yeah,
even forget about that.
right, yeah. I mean, played that. I mean, honestly, anything you can like bring back to the Airbnb and just play, or the hotel or whatever, and like continue playing is like always a good experience. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, good question, Bags, and hopefully you're at our favorite PAX next year.
Yeah. Hopefully,
Boom,
hopefully.
high
Uh,
expectations.
Next question comes from Arcarp, who asks, "What is your favorite thing about PAX?" I think that kind of goes hand in hand with that answer. Is like finding a hidden gem, enjoying it, bringing it back to the hotel, and just having a good time. Um, and usually, like I love finding a good tabletop game. Right,
Yeah.
I found a lot of cool tabletop stuff that I've grown to love over the years. And this year, I mean, played some really cool ones as well. So usually there's something cooking over on that end of the convention hall. But what about you?
Um, yeah, I'm right there with you. I think honestly, it's just like it's just so great to like go to a convention. It's just like all about like nerdy stuff. You don't have to worry about anything else. You're just gaming, drinking, hang out with the boys, for a weekend and a long weekend. And yeah, I don't know. That's like probably my favorite thing about it. And then, personally for me, like I always like look at it. Well, not always, but the past few years, look at it as like a networking event,
Mm-hmm.
kind of. So it's always cool to really talk to the developers because even if it's for a game that you're not like planning to cover content wise, just like sometimes like hearing their passion about the game or like getting a little bit of behind the scenes is always really just really cool. And um, these devs, they spend like a good amount of money to get out there, and it's just awesome to kind of just I don't know see people talk about what they love to do and like make cool stuff, even if it's not a game, like if it's just like something cool, like some art or something that some guy made, which honestly, that one thing I wish not, this is kind of on the other side of the question, maybe, but like one thing I wish was different about PAX is that if you're looking for like art, I'd say 80% of it is like stuff that's just kind of like not that like interesting. It's kind of like the basic sort of stuff that maybe you could just order online, on like Amazon or something like that. 20% of it's like unique things. Like there was someone there that like made their own hats, which is cool. Or there was like quarter size like arcade cabinets, which are really cool. Like truly arcade cabinets, not like plastic, but just like really shrunk down actual metal arcade cabinets, which is awesome. But I think like New York Comic Con, they have Artist Alley,
Mm-hmm.
where it's really just a bunch of like independent artists that just like sell really cool nerdy art. I got some of it behind me if you guys like are watching on YouTube. Like I've got Carnage and Venom, and Spider-Man, like really cool looking art. I wish like that was more of a part of PAX. Maybe that's how they could even fill up a little bit more of PAX. Because I don't know. I always like looking at the art sort of stuff. And I'm like, oh, like I just kind of collect it. I feel like, and don't always put all of it up. But people are really talented, and when it's like about something that I think is cool, then I kind of want to buy it. So I don't know. I always look for that at PAX, and like most of the time, I'm like, oh, this is just like
Yeah.
this is like a photo that was like printed on a poster. Like I wanted something that was like painted, or like something I don't know, um, a little bit more interesting, I guess. But Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel the same way,
I
but
mean, like, yeah, if I'm looking for that kind of stuff, I would like it there, but luckily, like a lot of the Flesh and Blood stuff, there's always artists from the game, so like I get stuff from them all the time. It's like, oh, it's like my favorite card with the
yeah,
coolest art, and I get it signed by the artist. It's so cool. But yeah, like anytime
yeah,
there's any like really cool art, I'm all about it, especially in the video game space.
yeah.
Next question comes from Capolo. Are you guys ever going to have a guest on the podcast? We actually had multiple devs this weekend say they'd be willing to come on the pod.
Yeah.
They hadn't listened to the pod yet, so that could change. But I think it would be cool to interview some devs.
Yeah, definitely. I think honestly the thing that's probably holding us back from that sort of stuff is just like the tech that we're using. Like,
Mm,
we use like this website where I don't even think we can like invite someone. Oh no, it says invite guest right there actually. But we maybe don't pay for that plan. I don't know. I feel like we need to move over. This is getting a little too into the weeds, but we need to move over to OBS at some point,
yeah.
and I gotta work on setting that up still, because then it just makes it easy to just like invite somebody to the show. But yeah, it was cool. Like we didn't even really inquire. We just kind of mentioned we had a podcast, and they were like, "Oh, we'd love to be on it." Like okay, that's pretty awesome. So yeah, that'd be cool. And also, even outside like the game dev space, it'd be cool to like have a special guest of like someone we know, hopping on. Maybe Danny D Train, maybe
Absolutely.
Bags, maybe Capolo,
Maybe
maybe
Capola.
Arcarp, we don't know.
Not our
Kmore.
carp. Not our carp.
Okay, not Arcarp, sorry. But
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so
It's
something
definitely
like
in the
that could be
cards.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
for sure. It's something we think about, we just don't execute on
Yeah, we
because
also like
we're
record the
busy.
same time every week, so like
Yes.
we
Yeah.
gotta. It would take a little bit more planning for us, but you know what? Never say never.
Yeah.
Last question comes from K Moore. When was the last time you rage quit a game?
It was at PAX. No, that'd be embarrassing.
Hmm.
But probably Elden Ring when I played I'm sure there was a boss there where I just like Melania probably. For those of you who played it, it was like notoriously the most difficult boss in the game. Um, Probably her. But it wasn't like honestly, I'm getting to the point where it's not like a rage. It's more just like, okay, I'm gonna play something else. Like I'm done,
Yeah,
So, I used to rage more, but these days I'm just like, it's just a fucking stupid game. I'll just switch to it. I'll go play something chill, play a little Star Invaders.
yeah, yeah.
Um, you know. So yeah, that's probably the last time I rage quit a game, but I don't know if the rage was really, really there. But what about you, Tom? You're not really someone that boils when you play
Mm,
certain games. I feel like you don't want to play a game that does that to you, right?
no, I mean, I just don't really rage like that. I don't
Yeah.
think. Like, I will like just like all right, like same. I'm like I'm all right. I guess I'm done playing video games for the day, or
Yeah.
something. Like like I would lose like a Slay the Spire run. I'm just like, ugh, man, that one was really cooking too. And I'm like, whatever. I'm not ready for another run or something like that. Um, you know, I've always prided myself on like not really getting like tilted in card games, which like that's where a lot of people will rage. It was a little bit harder to not get tilted when I played Magic because it was a little bit more variance based. Flesh and Blood, luckily, if I lose, it's probably my fault. That's all right. There's some variance there, but yeah, I do get mad sometimes in games, but like I don't know if anybody would ever say, "Oh, Tommy just rage quit." No, it's just like, no, I
Yeah.
think I'm done. Just I'm done for a little bit. I've made
Yeah.
people rage quit. I'll tell you that.
Hey, quit bragging. All right.
I remember during COVID, I made somebody rage quit Among Us like real hard. I was just like because I don't know, I caught him. like
Yeah.
immediately. So, and I was just like, by the way, this, and then everybody voted for them, and they were the imposter. And then he's all done. So, that's always. I mean, it is what it is, man. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you know,
Also, like I think I've raged during even like party games where like you're just like you die immediately. It's like what the hell, like
yeah,
it's not like a real rage, but like it's like a rage quit is like a whole different thing, right? Where you're just like
yeah,
so angry you can't play anymore. Um, yeah, so I
yeah.
probably can guess who you're talking about. Maybe
No, you can't
no.
actually.
Okay, I can't.
No.
Okay, all right. Well,
I mean, the person that you were guessing is somebody I've seen rage quit plenty of
okay,
times.
all
But,
right.
um,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, there's also times of party games for me too, where like if it's like Smash Melee and like I'm playing with people that like play it seriously,
yeah.
and they're just gonna like murk me. I'm just gonna be like, I'm not gonna rage quit, but I'm gonna soft quit. I'm just gonna like not really try that hard, be a little silly. So, it is what it is. But
Yeah.
that was the PAX episode. Do you have anything to recommend this week at Down at the Rec Room?
I was trying to think of something to recommend, but I mean, I feel like we kind of covered a lot of it um in the game list, but I will say I have been listening to more Pine Grove,
Yeah.
because we were listening to like some music going, up and down, obviously. And Tommy put on some Pine Grove, which I've heard before. I know you talked about before. I think they've been wrecked before.
Mhm.
And yeah, I've been enjoying some of their music. So exploring a little bit more in that direction.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I could probably wait till the album comes out, but there was just a second single for an album with Alan Sparhark featuring Trampled by Turtles. Trampled by Turtles is my favorite band. Alan Sparhark is from a band called Low that he had with his wife. His wife tragically passed away a couple years ago. They're both from the same town. Trampled and Low were both like from Duluth, Minnesota, and they were close. So this is the first album that Alan is putting out with since his wife passed away, and Trampled is being the backing like band. So there's two singles out now called I think Not Below and Stranger. They're both very good. I would check them out. And
Cool.
that's gonna do it for the show. I'm ready for a
Yep.
nap, man. I am tired. I worked today. Matty took the day off. He's so smart for doing that. But you know what? I gotta do what I gotta do. But hey, you
Yep.
can find me on Blue Sky at Fresh Buds Pod. Check out my other podcast called Fresh and Buds. Great time over there. And if you're in Hartford this weekend, look out for me in a cosplay, which should be interesting. So, that yeah, it's gonna be fun. And you can find us on all socials at Fresh Juice Pod. Matthew, where can people find you?
People. That's like a radio pause right there. First off, we need a picture of the cosplay in the Fresh Juice Discord. So just another reason to join.
Yep.
If you're looking forward to that, I'm going to need to see that. But yeah, find me at Matty Gorm on all the socials. I actually went live on TikTok today, just testing out some TikTok streaming, which I haven't done a lot of, but trying to hit 10,000 followers over there. So if you're interested in checking out my content, go follow me on TikTok. But so I did a little bit of that. So you might see me live over there if you're a TikToker. And yeah, that's about it from me, Tommy. Another good until next year, year between episodes. That's what we do here.